How many times have you felt broken inside while pretending everything was fine on the outside? I know that feeling. The emptiness, the loss of faith in yourself, not knowing where to start to trust again. But listen, you're not alone, and you're not done. Because even in the middle of the wreckage, you can still rebuild yourself, and this time, stronger. There are moments when the soul cracks in silence, when every failed attempt leaves an invisible but deep scar. And still, something within you whispers that not everything is lost, that you can still get back up. What you're about to discover are 12 Stoic lessons designed to bring you back your confidence, your strength, and your grip on life. These aren't just pretty quotes or abstract theories. They're principles forged through pain, created for those who have fallen and want to stand again. If you feel like doubt is taking over, if it's hard to look in the mirror and trust the person staring back, this is for you. Not because the world is going to change, but because you're about to learn how to become unshakable. And you, my friend, have you noticed how sometimes even silence won't leave you alone? That voice that doesn't scream but weighs heavy, the one that tells you you're not enough, that even you don't trust yourself anymore. If that voice sounds familiar, this space is for you. Subscribe, become a member if you're ready to take the next step, and tell me in the comments, what part of you feels like it's gone dark, and are you ready to light it back up? Or simply write, today, I believe in myself again. Because what's coming next isn't just a message, it's a direct push to your soul. Ready to reclaim your power? Let's go. Lesson 1. Stop underestimating yourself once and for all. Picture Marcus Aurelius after a disastrous day as emperor. Tough decisions that backfired. Criticism from all sides. Someone he trusted betraying him. He could have gone to bed telling himself he was a failure. But instead, he sat down and wrote in his personal notebook, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will keep flowing if you just keep digging." He didn't write that to impress anyone, he wrote it for himself, so he wouldn't forget his worth when giving up seemed easier. Now compare that to what you do. You make one mistake and suddenly you're condemned for life. I'm a mess. I'm not cut out for this. I always screw things up. Really? Always? Or have you just let your worth depend on a bunch of random things that happened to you? That test you failed, that partner who left you, that boss who never saw your effort, that family that doesn't know how to show appreciation. And there you are, carrying all that around like it's your official resume. Like every past failure is undeniable proof that you can't try anything new. Let's be honest. If your best friend spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, you'd have cut them out of your life years ago. But because the voice is in your head, you put up with it in silence. You wake up, and before anything else happens, you're already going through your mental list of everything you did wrong. Yesterday, last week, 5 years ago, sound familiar? Look, Marcus Aurelius had an entire empire watching him. Thousands of people waiting on his decisions. Armies depending on his orders. And even then, he understood something you've forgotten. The only judgment that truly mattered was his own. The one he made when he looked within, not the judgment of people who cheered one day and criticized the next. Listen to me. Epictetus was a slave, literally. Crippled, no titles, no famous name, none of the things the world calls success. And still, he saw himself as the absolute master of his own mind, because he understood something fundamental. The emperor isn't worth more because of his crown, and the slave isn't worth less because of his chains. What defines you isn't what life throws at you. It's what you choose to do with it. But you've created something far more dangerous than any external chain. You've created an inner voice that reminds you of every mistake, every moment you weren't enough, every time you failed. And that voice shows up exactly when you need it to shut up, when you have to raise your hand in a meeting, when a growth opportunity appears, when someone asks if you're ready to take on something new. I'll probably say something dumb. This isn't for me, it's for more capable people. It was just luck, next time I'll mess it up for sure. See what you're doing? You're treating yourself like the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Seneca, who lived surrounded by luxury, but also betrayal and exile, would tell you something very clearly if he were here. Are you seriously going to keep being your own worst enemy? Don't you already have enough going on outside? Here's the truth, my friend. You can't build a stronger, more grounded version of yourself if every day you wake up stepping on your own head. It doesn't work like that. You can't expect confidence while speaking to yourself like you're trash. So what do? You start with something very simple, but very powerful. When you make a mistake, instead of launching into the full "I'm a disaster" speech, you pause, and you switch it out for something real. Okay, I messed up here. This didn't go the way I wanted. But this doesn't erase everything I do right. This isn't self-deception. It's fairness. It's about stopping the obsession with prosecuting yourself and starting to be an honest witness of your own life. Marcus Aurelius walked with his head high not because he was perfect, but because he knew something you've forgotten. Walking tall isn't arrogance. It's remembering that you're still worthy, even when you mess up. Look at how you carry yourself through the world. Do you stare at the floor? Speak in a low voice like you're apologizing for existing? Shrink yourself when you walk into a room? That's the body language of someone who's disqualified themselves before even starting. And your brain reads it. Your mind interprets those gestures as proof that you're not worth much. So start with something as simple as lifting your chin, holding your gaze, speaking with a bit more firmness. Not aggression, just the presence of someone who takes themselves seriously. Now do this. Revisit your story, not as a victim, but the way a Stoic would. Instead of replaying all the drama, go back over the times you got back up, the times you held someone else together while you were falling apart, the times you learned something important from a mistake, the times you kept moving forward, even when you were broken. That's part of your story too. But you've spent so much time focused on the bad, you forgot there's another version just as real, a version where you're not the perfect victim, but someone who's endured way more than they realize. I'm not asking you to deny your mistakes. I'm asking you to stop using them as a weapon against yourself. There's a huge difference between acknowledging a failure and defining yourself by it forever. If Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca had spoken to themselves the way you speak to yourself, they wouldn't have written a single line of what we read today. They wouldn't have overcome their storms. They wouldn't have found the inner peace they were searching for. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You can't find peace or strength while being your own worst enemy. You can't get back up if every time you try, there's a voice inside you pushing you down. So decide something today. Decide that from now on, you won't speak to yourself like someone who hates you. Decide that you'll treat yourself with at least the same dignity you'd show a stranger on the street. Because believe me, you wouldn't say half the things you tell yourself to someone you didn't even know. You want to rise and trust yourself again? Great. Start here. Stop stepping on your own head. Marcus, Epictetus, Seneca, none of them would have accepted the way you talk to yourself, and neither should you. Starting today, I decide not to speak to myself like my worst enemy. That's the starting line. Everything else comes after that. Lesson 2. Master your mind before it masters you. Imagine your mind is like a WhatsApp group where no one ever shuts up. One message says, "You're going to fail." Another one, "They probably think badly of you." And another, "Better not try, you'll just get hurt again." Non-stop notifications, constant noise, and there you are reading each message as if it were the absolute truth. Epictetus would have been the first one to leave the group. No drama, no goodbyes. He simply would have understood that you can't live with that kind of mental pollution 24 hours a day. But you're still in there. Every morning you open your eyes and the broadcast has already started. Thoughts about everything that could go wrong. Memories of when things did go wrong. Predictions that it'll all go wrong again. And do you know what's worse? You believe that voice is you. That those thoughts are reality. That if your mind tells you you're worthless, it must be true. But here's the first shift you need to make. You are not your thoughts. You're the one who observes them. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by permanent chaos. Wars, betrayals, illness, conspiracies, endless pressure. He could have let himself be dragged down by every dark thought that came to him. Instead, he wrote something that sounds simple, but changed everything for him. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. He didn't write, "My life is a mess." He wrote about how he thought about what was happening to him, because he understood that the real battlefield wasn't outside, it was inside his own head. Now think about your daily life. Before you send an important email, your mind has already shown you 20 catastrophic outcomes. Someone takes a while to reply, and you've already imagined a whole rejection story. You think about starting a new project, and that familiar thought shows up. You tried before, and it didn't work. Let it go. And that's the problem. If you leave your mind on autopilot, it always takes you to the same place. Fear, guilt, worst-case scenarios, rejection. It's like a broken GPS that only knows one route, and it always leads to the same dead end. So how do you build something more resilient in yourself if every time you try to begin, your mind throws at you? You'll fall again. You can't. That's why mastering your mind isn't some philosophical luxury. It's practical survival. Epictetus would tell you straight, you can't control what happens outside, but you can stop feeding certain thoughts. If you keep giving them your attention, they grow. If you ignore them, they weaken. Think of your mind like a spam filter. You're getting thoughts all the time. Some are useful, real facts, valid observations. Others are useless. I'm not enough. Everything's going to go wrong, nobody takes me seriously. A Stoic learns to flag those as spam. At first, they still get through, but with training, fewer and fewer show up in your main inbox. How do you train that? Start here. Every time a limiting thought appears, ask yourself one simple question. Is this a fact, or is it just an interpretation? Because most of the time, what's holding you back isn't facts. It's the stories you're telling yourself. They probably think I'm a fraud. Is that a fact? Has someone told you that? Or is it just another movie you're playing in your head? This opportunity isn't for me. Why? Who decided that? Or did your mind already cross you off before you even tried? Seneca compared an agitated mind to a messy room where you can't find anything, everything in disarray, everything mixed up, useful ideas you've been dragging around for years. And in that mess, you try to make important decisions. It doesn't work. Here's something that will help, my friend. Start giving names to your mental movies. Ah, here it comes again. Everything will go wrong. Part 4. It sounds silly, but it works because when you give it a name, when you identify it, you take away its power. You stop taking it so seriously. And once you identify it, you do something even more important. You act in the opposite direction. Your mind says, "Don't send that message, they'll judge you." You stop for 10 seconds, breathe, and you send it anyway. Your mind says, "Don't make that call, they'll reject you." You stop, breathe, and dial the number. That small action is how you master your mind in practice. It's not about sitting to meditate for 8 hours. It's about choosing a different response when your brain tries to push you straight into fear. Marcus Aurelius did this every day. Not because it was easy, but because he understood that if he didn't train his mind would train him, and it would take him exactly where he didn't want to go. Fear, doubt, paralysis. You can't expect to trust yourself if your thoughts are speaking to you like enemies all day long. You can't build anything solid on a foundation of constant mental noise. You can't get back up if every time you try, there's a voice inside telling you that you won't make it. Marcus didn't wake up confident because life was easy. He woke up confident because every day he trained his mind again. Every day he chose which thoughts to listen to and which ones to let pass as background noise. If you want to rise and trust yourself again, you'll have to do the same. Stop swallowing every thought like it's gospel. Start choosing which stories you tell yourself, because in the end, your life isn't what happens to you. It's what you think about what happens to you. I direct my thoughts, not the other way around. That's the decision. Everything else is just noise. My friend, I'm going to propose something to you right now, a mix of bravery and honesty. Think of that one thought that held you back today. even if it was just for a few seconds. Just one. Now write it in the comments like this. My mind says, but I choose. Because once you write it, it's no longer just a thought. It becomes a decision. And let me ask you one direct question before we continue. Are you ready to stop being a hostage of your own mind? If the answer is yes, just write, ready. That way I'll know who's really here to do the real work. Lesson 3. Failure doesn't define you. It trains you. Picture Cicero getting the news that he'd been exiled from Rome. Everything he had worked for, his political career, his influence, his prestige, collapsed in an instant. He could have given up. He could have let that massive failure define him, but he didn't. Cicero started writing more than ever, and the Stoics around him saw that attitude as the clearest proof that failure doesn't define anyone. It just shows you where to begin again. And you, meanwhile, are punishing yourself for things that weren't even disasters. They just didn't turn out the way you wanted. You're crucifying yourself over outcomes that simply didn't match your expectations, as if the universe had signed a contract promising everything would go perfectly, always. Here's the truth you need to hear. Failure isn't a sign of inability. It's a sign that you're in motion, that you tried, that you put something on the line. The only people who never fail are the ones who never do anything. And those people are dead inside, even if they're still breathing. Marcus Aurelius lost battles. He lost people he loved. He made decisions that went wrong. And still, he wrote in the middle of military campaigns. The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He didn't write that to sound deep. He wrote it because it was his daily reality. Every obstacle taught him something that comfort never could have. But you're not seeing your failures that way. You're using them as proof that you shouldn't try again. You tried to start a personal project and gave it up. Now every time you think about beginning something new, that voice appears. It'll just happen again. Who am I kidding? Or you had a relationship that didn't work out, and now you treat that as definitive proof that you're not enough. As if one person who left says more about you than all the times you got back up, worked hard, held others together, and kept going even when it hurt. Epictetus said it plainly. No one has a contract with life guaranteeing everything will go well. When something goes wrong, it's not a personal failure, it's just life doing what life does. Things don't always turn out the way you want, and that says nothing about your worth. It says you're human, and that you're actually living, not just playing it safe from the sidelines. Do you know what the real problem is? That you've turned failure into a permanent definition instead of seeing it for what it really is. Information data, feedback from the world, a result that shows you what to adjust, what to change, what to let go of, and what to hold on to. Think about this. How many times has something that seemed like a disaster at the time turned out to be exactly what you needed? That door that closed and forced you to take a different path. That plan that fell apart and years later you were grateful because it saved you from something worse. That loss that shattered you, but also taught you who you really are when everything breaks. Brian Acton got rejected from job interviews at Facebook and Twitter. 2 back-to-back rejections from the biggest companies around. He could have taken that as, I'm not good enough. Instead, he co-founded WhatsApp years later. Facebook, the same company that turned him down, paid billions for what he built on his own. I'm not telling you this to sell some cheap motivational story. I'm telling you because it represents exactly what a Stoic attitude looks like. Take the hit, don't dramatize it, and keep building. Seneca wrote something that fits perfectly here. Sometimes even living is an act of courage. Because moving forward after something goes wrong, without turning yourself into a victim, without getting stuck in the drama, that takes more courage than any easy success ever will. So what do you do with your failures? First, stop calling them that. Start seeing them as rough drafts, as attempts, as versions that didn't work but brought you one step closer to what will. Second, change the question. Instead of asking yourself, why did I fail? Ask, what did my character learn from this? Because that's where the real value is, not in the external result, but in who you became while you were trying. Look back on your life. Think of a failure that once crushed you. Now look at it from a distance. What came after that? What did you learn? What doors opened precisely because that one closed? Sometimes life reroutes your path for you, my friend. And what looked like a disaster was simply a necessary redirection. The Stoic attitude isn't about glorifying failure. It's not about romanticizing pain or pretending everything happens for some beautiful reason. It's something much more practical. Use what happens to gain clarity and strength to understand yourself better, to find out what you're made of when life tests you. Every time something goes wrong and you decide not to turn it into your identity, you're building something more valuable than success. You're building resilience. You're training your ability to stay standing when everything shakes. And that ability is what allows you to get back up again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Because here's what no one tells you. Real confidence doesn't come from everything going well. It comes from knowing that even if things go badly, you can handle it. That even if you fail, you're not defined by it. That even if it hurts, you're still capable of trying again. Marcus Aurelius didn't trust himself because he never failed. He trusted himself because he knew he had failed 1,000 times and was still there, learning, adjusting, improving. That's how you build something solid inside yourself. Not through perfection, but through the ability to keep going even when everything falls apart. So stop using your failures as weapons against yourself. Stop pulling them out every time you think about starting something new. Stop letting a past result control every future decision. Because as long as you do that, as long as you keep treating every stumble as proof that you can't, you'll never really get back up. Learning to trust yourself again doesn't begin when everything goes right. It begins when something hurts, and you still choose not to make it a permanent definition. That's when you're acting like a Stoic. That's when you're building a version of yourself that doesn't need perfection to keep trying. Failure doesn't define you, it trains you. And if you learn to see it that way, every fall becomes the next step up. Lesson 4. Be disciplined even when you don't feel like it. It's 7 in the morning, the alarm goes off. Your mind says, 5 more minutes. And right there, right in that moment, Marcus Aurelius would place a hand on your shoulder and say the same thing he used to tell himself every morning in his meditations. Were you born to be warm under the blankets, or to do what you came here to do? That question says it all, because the moment you choose to get up or stay in bed 5 minutes longer isn't a small one. It's the first battlefield of the day. And if you lose there, you've already started losing. But if you win there, you've already started building. Discipline isn't about motivation. It doesn't show up when you feel inspired. It's the exact opposite. It's what you do when you don't feel like it. When everything in you says no. When it would be easier to postpone, cancel, or make up an excuse. That's when discipline matters. That's when you define who you are. And here's what you need to understand. Real confidence doesn't come from feeling good. It comes from showing yourself that you follow through even when you don't feel like it. Because every time you do what you said you would, no matter how small, no matter how imperfect, you reinforce something essential. Your word to yourself matters. Epictetus was brutally clear about this. He said, "Don't say I can't, say I don't want to, and you'll see how your perspective changes." Because most of the time, the issue isn't ability, it's will. It's that you're waiting to feel ready, to feel motivated, to feel energized. And while you're waiting, the days go by and you get nothing done. Discipline works like a switch. There's no dramatic inner monologue, no endless debate, on or off. I do what I said I'd do, or I don't. The Stoics were like that. They didn't sit around negotiating with their emotions. They identified what was right and did it. Period. You promised yourself you'd train, the hours pass. You make excuses. You watch videos. You check your phone. And by the end of the day, you've done nothing. You decided to eat better, and you sabotaged yourself at the first craving. You committed to study or move forward on a project, and you've postponed it for the 5th time this week. And what comes after that? Guilt, internal chaos. That feeling that you can't trust yourself. And it makes sense, because you're not following through on the basics. You're not holding up your own structure. Discipline isn't punishment, it's self-protection. Doing what you said you would shields you from guilt, from chaos, from feeling lost. It gives you structure, it gives you direction, it gives you certainty that even when things are hard, you're still someone who follows through. Mel Robbins discovered something the Stoics already knew 2,000 years ago. If you wait to feel like it, you'll never do anything. That's why she created the 5-second rule. Count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and act before your mind talks you out of it. And even though she doesn't define herself as a Stoic, the logic behind it is entirely Stoic. Stop negotiating with your mind and act before your thoughts interfere, because your mind will always have an excuse. There will always be a reason not to do what you need to do. Today's not the day. I'll start on Monday, when I have more time, when I feel better. All of those are just different versions of the same thing. Fear disguised as logic. Marcus Aurelius knew it. That's why he wrote, "Get up and get moving, if not now, when?" He didn't write it to inspire others, he wrote it to himself, because he too fought against that voice begging to stay comfortable. The difference is, he didn't listen to it. Here's something practical you can apply today. Give yourself one small order and follow through on it today, not tomorrow. Just one. It doesn't have to be epic. It can be as simple as making your bed, walking for 15 minutes, or writing 3 lines of that project you keep putting off. The Stoics built discipline through small wins, not grand gestures. Pick an anchor habit, one that, if you do it, gives you the sense that your day has already started with a win. It could be training, reading 10 pages, taking a cold shower, whatever it is. Make it non-negotiable. Because when you have an anchor, even if everything else goes off track, you know you did that one thing. And finish what you start, even if it's the smallest version of it. That strengthens your internal structure. That teaches you that you don't need perfect conditions to move forward, that you can act even when everything's against you. Seneca spoke of daily self-control as the foundation of everything. He said true power isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself, and that gets tested in the little things. Getting up when the alarm rings, not eating what you know you shouldn't, making the hard call, writing when you feel completely stuck. Because here's the hard truth. No one's coming to discipline you. No one's going to do the work for you. No one's going to build your inner structure while you wait to feel ready. Either you do it, or it doesn't happen. And every day you let go by without doing what you promised, you're training something. You're training inconsistency. You're training yourself not to follow through. You're training yourself to be someone who doesn't trust their own word. And that builds up. It becomes a pattern. It becomes identity. But it works the other way too. Every day you follow through, even just a little, you're training something stronger. Self-trust. That feeling that when you say something, you mean it. That when you commit to yourself, it's not empty talk. Trusting yourself again starts here, my friend. It starts when you learn to follow through even without motivation. When you build routines that hold you up even when you don't feel like it. When you prove to yourself day after day that your word matters. Self-trust doesn't show up when you're inspired. It shows up when you prove to yourself that you follow through even when you don't feel like it. And every time you do that, you rise a little more. You become a little stronger. A little more grounded. A little more you. So tomorrow when that alarm goes off, remember Marcus Aurelius and get up. Lesson 5. Don't react, respond calmly. Picture this. Someone speaks to you harshly. You feel attacked, and your body reacts before your mind even catches up. Your pulse rises, your jaw tightens, and the sharp response is already on the tip of your tongue, ready to launch. And right then, imagine Seneca stepping into the scene, as if watching from a corner saying, "Anger is a brief madness." Not to judge you, but to remind you. If you respond out of impulse, you're the one who loses, not them, you. Because that's exactly what happens when you react without thinking. You give away your power. You hand someone else control over your inner state, and afterward, once you've exploded, once you've said what you shouldn't have said, once you've sent that message you can't take back, you realize it, but it's too late. The damage is done. Calm is not the absence of emotion. It's not turning into a robot who feels nothing. It's the presence of control. It's feeling the full emotion, recognizing it, and still choosing how you respond. That's what the Stoics practiced every single day. They weren't emotionless people. They were people who refused to let their emotions control them. Marcus Aurelius knew this better than anyone. He could receive devastating news, betrayal, military failure, unfair criticism, and before reacting, he paused. He reminded himself of something essential. Someone else's behavior doesn't define your character, but your response does. They could insult him, attack him, lie about him. But how he chose to respond, that was entirely up to him. Think about your daily life. Someone sends you a passive-aggressive message, and you immediately start typing a long reply, defending yourself, explaining, firing back. Your fingers move on their own. Adrenaline spikes. You're in full war mode. Until something stops you. You breathe, you delete it all, and you simply write, "Let's talk later." That 1 second of pause changed everything. You didn't stay silent out of weakness. You chose not to give power to something that didn't deserve your energy. That's responding with calm. That's acting like a Stoic. Or you're at work. Someone points out a mistake in front of others. You feel that urgent need to defend yourself instantly, to explain it wasn't your fault, to protect your ego like it's under attack. But if you respond from that place, from that immediate need to defend, you lose, because your reply will come out tense, defensive, clumsy. But if you wait 2 seconds, if you breathe, if you let the emotion cool down even slightly, you can say something far more powerful. "You're right. I'll take a look." Or, "I hear you. Let me check what happened." You're not being weak. You're being smart. You're choosing clarity over reactivity. Epictetus put it simply, "What angers you, conquers you." If someone's words can flip your entire state, if one comment can ruin your whole day, if one look can send you into defense mode, then that person has more power over you than you do. And that can't be. Your mind has an invisible button you could press to respond with clarity, if only you'd use it. It's like the delay button on cameras that helps avoid blurry photos. Just a tiny space, 2 or 3 seconds, before you speak. The Stoics used it all the time. That brief moment where emotion fades and reason shows up. Where you can choose instead of just react. Think about an argument with your partner. You start off wanting to win. You want to be right. You want to prove the other person wrong. And meanwhile, the whole conversation falls apart. Because you're not talking anymore. You're battling. You're attacking. And in the end, no one wins. You both lose. But if in the middle of that argument, right when things are about to explode, one of you pauses and says, "Wait, I don't want to fight. I want to understand you." Everything shifts. Because now the goal isn't to win, it's to talk, to solve, to hold on to calm in the middle of chaos. That's real power, my friend. Not yelling louder, not getting the last word, not proving you're right. Real power is staying centered when everything invites you to lose control. It's responding with clarity when it would be easier to blow up. Seneca said something that seems obvious, but we forget constantly. The best cure for anger is delay. He wasn't asking you to never get angry. He was asking you not to act from anger. To wait, to let the first wave pass. Because that first wave almost never takes you where you want to go. Here's something you can try today. Before you reply to any emotionally charged message, walk around the room. 10 steps. That tiny bit of physical movement is enough to break the emotional chain. Your body moves. Your mind disconnects from the impulse, and when you come back to the message, you don't see it the same way. You're not responding from the same place, or choose a phrase for yourself, something to act as your Stoic switch, a reminder of who you want to be in that moment. It could be as simple as, I don't give power to what I can't control, or I respond with clarity, not emotion, or whatever works for you, but have one. And use it every time you feel yourself about to react. And shift your goal in arguments. Stop trying to be right. Start trying to stay clear. That shift is profoundly Stoic, because when your goal is to be right, anything that threatens that will put you on the attack. But when your goal is clarity, you can listen. You can consider. You can even change your mind without feeling like you lost. Marcus Aurelius faced life and death decisions every day, and before acting he would ask himself, is this coming from my best self, or from fear, ego, or pride? That question saved him from reactions he would have regretted, and it can save you too. Because here's the truth. Most of your problems don't come from what happens to you. They come from how you react to what happens to you. People are going to speak to you harshly. They'll misunderstand you. They'll attack you. They'll say unfair things. That's going to happen. You can't control it. But you can control whether you let it ruin your day. You can control whether you respond from your best self or your worst impulse. You can control whether you keep your calm or throw it away in the first round. And when you manage that, when you hold on to calm in the middle of chaos, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust yourself in a new way. Not because everything is going well, but because you know you can stay steady even when everything's going wrong. That you can respond with clarity even when everything inside you is screaming to react. Calm isn't the prize you get when life is easy. It's the path you choose when life is hard. And if you want to build a stronger, more grounded version of yourself, start by trusting your ability to respond with clarity, even when everything inside you wants to explode. Because right there is where you truly live like a Stoic. Lesson 6. Come back to the present. That's where you take back control. Your mind is like an old internet browser full of open tabs. The thing you said and now regret. The fear of what might happen tomorrow. The conversation that hasn't happened yet. The mistake from 3 years ago. The presentation next week. Everything open at once. Everything draining your energy. Everything distracting you from the only thing that really exists. This moment, Marcus Aurelius looked at all that mental noise and did the same thing you do when your computer's running slow. He closed tabs. One by one, he came back to the present. Because he knew something you've forgotten. The present isn't just a nice spiritual concept. It's the only place where anything real can happen. You can't change the past no matter how much you replay it in your head. You can't control the future no matter how much you worry about it. The only thing you have, the only thing you truly have power over is this moment. And you're wasting it living in times that no longer exist or haven't even arrived. Imagine walking down the street and not even seeing what's in front of you because you're mentally rehearsing a conversation that hasn't happened yet. Practicing responses, building defenses, anticipating attacks. You miss the life you're living because you're too busy trying to manage a life that doesn't even exist. Seneca said it plainly, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most of the things that worry you will never happen, and the ones that do rarely turn out as bad as you imagined, but in the meantime, you've lost days, weeks, even months worrying about scenarios that never came true. Someone told me recently they'd been living in the future for months, thinking about the job they didn't have yet, the relationship they hadn't started, the problems that hadn't happened. Their entire life had become a never-ending list of what-ifs, until they decided to try something different. Every morning, when they went for a walk, they paid attention only to what they could see, only what they could hear, only what they could breathe, nothing else. And they told me something deeply Stoic. I came back to myself. Because that's what happens when you return to the present. You get yourself back. You get your clarity back. You get your calm back. You take back the control you thought you'd lost. Epictetus said it best. The only thing you truly possess is the present moment. Everything else is memory or speculation. It's not real. It's not here. You can't touch it. Only the now belongs to you. Only the now can be lived. Your mind is like a flashlight. It can't light up the past and future at the same time. Your beam is limited. When you aim that flashlight at what already happened or what hasn't happened yet, you leave in darkness the only thing you can change. This moment, this decision, this action, this response. And here's what no one tells you. Anxiety doesn't come from having problems. It comes from trying to solve every problem at once, including the ones that don't even exist yet. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. So every time your mind goes to the future, your body reacts as if that future is happening now. That's why you feel that constant pressure in your chest. That's why you can't really rest. That's why, even if you're physically here, mentally, you're in 10 different places. None of them the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the middle of military campaigns, surrounded by chaos, death, impossible decisions. And yet, he found peace. How? By returning to the present again and again. He'd ask himself, what do I need to do now? Not tomorrow, not later, now. And he would do that. Just that. That kind of simplicity is revolutionary, because when you reduce your focus to just this moment, everything becomes manageable. You don't have to solve your whole life today. You just have to take the next step, do the next thing, make the next decision. Here's something incredibly simple you can do right now. Touch something physical. Your clothes, an object, the table. Feel the texture, the temperature. That instantly grounds you in the present. Because your mind can be in the past or future, but your body is always here. And when you connect with your body, you return. Or when you notice your mind has drifted off, just say, here, that's it. No big technique, no complicated meditation. Just one word that brings you back. Here. It's simple, but it works. Or pay attention to just one thing around you. A sound, a texture, a sensation. Don't judge it, don't analyze it, just observe it. That pure act of observation is deeply stoic and deeply practical. It pulls you out of mental noise and into where you really are. Because here's the truth, my friend. You can't build anything solid if you're mentally absent all the time. You can't trust yourself if, when it's time to decide, your mind is stuck replaying mistakes from 5 years ago or imagining disasters that will never happen. The present is your refuge, but it's also your power. It's where you make the decisions that shape your life. It's where you act. It's where you build. It's where you truly live. The Stoics didn't talk about the present as something mystical. They talked about it as something deeply practical. Marcus Aurelius didn't sit around contemplating the moment. He returned to it so he could act with clarity. So he could decide without the past pulling him back or the future paralyzing him with fear. And that's exactly what you need to do. Every time your mind wanders, bring it back. Not with violence, not with frustration, just with patience. Like training a distracted puppy, over and over again. Come back here. Come back now, because you can't rise or learn to trust yourself again if you're trapped in time zones that don't exist. The present is where you get your power back. It's where you find yourself. It's where anything is possible, because it's the only thing that actually is. Come back to it. And when you do, you'll realize something. You were never as lost as you thought. You were just in the wrong place. And that place was your own mind, living in every time but this one. Come back to the present. That's where you take back control. Lesson 7. Being vulnerable is also being strong. I know. There are days when even getting out of bed feels like a fight. And even when you do, no one notices the effort. No one sees the battle you had to fight with yourself just to show up, just to function, just to pretend things are normal. Seneca knew that well. He said that even living is an act of courage. And he didn't say it to sound philosophical. He said it because he went through dark moments. He didn't talk about moments when the mask of strength felt too heavy to hold up. We live in a culture that sells you the idea that you have to be able to handle everything, that showing cracks is weakness, that admitting something hurts is giving up. And you've believed it. You've spent years hiding what you feel, swallowing the pain, pretending everything is fine while you're falling apart inside. And do you know what happens when you do that? You harden on the outside, but break on the inside. You build an armor so heavy that you can no longer move freely. You live defending yourself from attacks that haven't even come, while the real damage is being done by you, not allowing yourself to be human. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations in private. No one was ever meant to read them. And in those pages, he admitted his doubts, his fears, his moments of weakness. He wasn't the all-powerful emperor all the time. He was a man wrestling with himself, wondering if he was doing the right thing, feeling tired and overwhelmed. But that didn't make him weak. It made him human. And that honesty with himself was exactly what gave him real strength. Because he wasn't wasting energy pretending to be someone he wasn't. He wasn't holding up a mask that weighed more than any crown. If Marcus Aurelius could write to you today, maybe he'd say something like this: "You are not less for feeling broken. You are human, and human nature isn't perfect or invincible, but it is capable of rising again, with more grace, when it's honest with itself." Think about your daily life. Those days when you pretend everything's fine at work because it's not the time to show vulnerability. When someone asks how you're doing and you say fine, even though you're falling apart inside. When asking for help feels like admitting defeat. When you swallow entire emotions just to avoid being a burden. And what do you get from that? Distance from yourself, from others. Because no one can connect with someone who never lets their guard down. No one can get close to someone who's always in control, and you're left alone, carrying all that weight, wondering why you feel so disconnected from the world. Epictetus taught that part of wisdom is accepting the human condition, not denying it, not hiding it, accepting it. That includes the broken parts, the painful parts, the parts you don't understand. Because all of those parts are yours too, and as long as you reject them, as long as you're ashamed of them, you'll never feel whole. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's telling the truth without a mask. It's saying this hurts without needing to justify it. It's admitting I can't do this alone without feeling like you failed. It's allowing yourself to feel what you feel, without judging yourself for it. When you try to hide your pain, it's like fogging up a window with your breath. You can still see life, but it's blurry. Everything gets confusing because you're using so much energy to hold up the facade. There's no clarity left to see what's really happening. Accepting what you feel clears that window. It lets you see more clearly. It lets you act from a real place. And here's what no one tells you. You can't learn to trust yourself again if you don't accept all parts of you, even the wounded ones. Because trusting yourself doesn't mean believing you'll always handle everything. It means knowing that when you can't, you'll have the honesty to admit it. That when you need help, you'll have the courage to ask for it. Seneca went through illness, exile, loss, and he wrote about it. Not to feel sorry for himself, but to process, to be honest, to remind himself that pain is part of the deal when you're alive, and that resisting it without acknowledging it only makes it heavier. My friend, normalize saying, "I'm not okay today." That's not giving up, that's being honest, that's taking the pressure off yourself to pretend you're always at 100. That's allowing yourself to be human in a world that expects you to be a machine. Asking for help is not weakness, my friend. It's strategy. The Stoics understood that no one gets far alone. That strength also lies in recognizing your limits and seeking support when needed. Marcus Aurelius surrounded himself with advisors for a reason. He knew he couldn't see everything, know everything, or carry everything, and he wasn't ashamed to admit it. Speak to yourself in a gentler tone. The Stoics didn't punish themselves. They corrected themselves with respect. They didn't beat themselves up for having bad days. They gave themselves space to recover because they knew that cruelty toward yourself doesn't make you stronger. It makes you more fragile. There's a huge difference between being vulnerable and being weak. Weakness is letting your emotions take full control, paralyze you, make every decision for you. Vulnerability is recognizing your emotions, accepting them, and still moving forward. It's saying, This hurts and I accept it and I keep going. You can't build anything solid on a foundation of denial. You can't be strong if you never let yourself be honest. You can't get back up if you keep pretending you never fell. Because to get up first, you have to admit you're down, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is staying down while pretending you're still standing. If you want to rise and trust yourself again, stop demanding that you be a rock. Rocks don't heal. Rocks don't grow. Rocks don't feel, but you do. And that is your greatest strength, not your weakness. Lesson 8. Does your circle push you forward or hold you back? You're about to share an idea that excites you. Something you've been thinking about. Something that lights you up. Something you're ready to try. And someone around you responds with, "Let's see how long that lasts." Marcus Aurelius would have raised an eyebrow. He knew that your environment can lift you higher than you ever imagined, or shut down the best in you before you even begin. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Maybe your lack of confidence isn't entirely yours. Maybe it's contamination. Maybe you've spent years absorbing doubts that weren't yours, fears that didn't start with you, limits that others planted in your mind because they never dared to break their own. Imagine you're in a gym, not to lift weights, but to lift your life. If you train surrounded by people who complain, your thoughts grow weak. If you train with those who move forward, your discipline gets strong. The environment weighs more than the bar, and you've spent years training with the wrong weights. Seneca warned of something that sounds harsh but is true. The soul picks up what it's surrounded by. If you spend time with people who normalize quitting, eventually you'll normalize quitting too. If you're surrounded by fear, you'll start seeing danger where there is none. If your circle criticizes every attempt, every risk, every new idea, you'll end up staying still. Even when every part of you wants to move, it's not that you're weak. It's that you've been swimming against a constant current. And no one can move forward like that for long without wearing down. Think about how many times you've lowered your energy just to avoid standing out. How many times you've stayed quiet about something that excited you because you knew the response would be sarcasm. How many times you wanted to grow and someone close to you reminded you of every failure in your past, as if that were proof you shouldn't even try. Epictetus said you must guard who influences your mind, because your mind is your temple. And if you let just anyone in with their opinions, their doubts, their projections, you'll end up living the life they think you should live, not the one you want to build. Marcus Aurelius surrounded himself with advisors who challenged him, not flatterers who told him what he wanted to hear. He looked for people who pushed him to think, to improve, to rise. But he also knew when someone was only there to drain him, to criticize without offering anything, to plant doubts and walk away. And you need to start doing the same. Notice how you feel after spending time with certain people. Do you leave drained or inspired? Do you leave doubting yourself or ready to take action? Do you feel like you can or like you shouldn't even try? That tells you everything, because some people support you with words but hold you back with their energy. Some say they believe in you, but every time you make a move they remind you of why it might not work. And some people just don't want to see you grow, because your growth highlights everything they're not doing. Derek Sivers, the founder of CD Baby, said it clearly. If your environment doesn't cheer your growth, you're in the wrong place. And even though he wasn't a Stoic, his thinking is perfectly aligned with Epictetus. Protect your mind like it's sacred. Don't let just anything in. Don't give every voice power over what you're building. Now, this doesn't mean you have to cut everyone off. It doesn't mean isolate yourself or only surround yourself with people who say yes to everything. It means you create a healthy distance from those who drain your energy. That you stop looking for validation from people who are never going to give it. That you stop sharing your dreams with those who secretly enjoy watching them fall apart. And that you seek, build, or move closer to people who lift you. The ones who, when you fall, ask what you need, instead of reminding you how many times you've fallen before the ones who celebrate your small wins, instead of waiting until you reach the top to give you credit. The ones who challenge you with respect, not ego. Maybe you need an internal reference, someone who, when you think of them, reminds you how you want to show up. Not to copy, but to hold a standard. Someone whose presence, physical or mental, pulls you upward, not downward. Because here's the hard reality. You can't rise if you're surrounded by people who enjoy seeing you down. You can't trust yourself again if your ears are full of voices that doubt you before you even begin. You can't build anything solid if every time you lay a brick, someone tells you it's going to fall. The Stoics were clear. Your environment is part of your discipline. Choosing who you spend time with, who gets access to your mind, which voices you allow in. That's part of your training. It's not random. It's not just something that happens. It's an active decision you make every day. And if you look around right now and realize your circle isn't lifting you up, you've got two options: change your circle or change what you expect from it. Stop looking for validation where you're never going to find it. Stop sharing what matters with people who don't know how to value it. Stop giving power to opinions from people who aren't even trying. Surround yourself with those who lift you. And if they're not nearby, find them in books, in communities, in spaces where the energy is different. Because rising also means choosing who walks the path with you. And that choice shapes more than you realize. Now, I want you to do something. Think about the 5 people you spend the most time with. And be honest, do they push you forward or hold you back? You don't need to tell me, just say it to yourself. And if you realize it's time to clean things up, write cleaning in the comments. Not for me, for you. To make a commitment. Lesson 9. Build strength on the hard days. Let's be honest. Some mornings you wake up and you're already losing. You haven't even opened your eyes and there's already a weight on your chest, like something invisible is crushing you before the day even begins. But don't worry. Marcus Aurelius had days like that too. This isn't a myth or some motivational story. He wrote about it. He said there were days he didn't want to get out of bed, but still got up because his duty went beyond how he felt. And that's the part no one tells you. Strength doesn't come from the good moments. It's not built when everything flows, when you feel motivated, when things go your way. It's built exactly on days like today when you don't want to keep going, and you do anyway. When everything tells you to quit, and you don't. Picture one of those days where it just pours on you for no reason. You spill your coffee. You're late. Someone talks to you rudely. Nothing goes how you expected. And on top of it all, you beat yourself up for feeling bad, as if you weren't allowed to be tired. On a day like that, Epictetus would look you in the eye and say, "This is the day to train." Not when it's easy. Today, now. When it's hard. Because hard days don't take your value away. They're not proof that you're failing. They're proof that you're in the ring, that you're alive, that you're trying. The only people who don't have hard days are the ones doing nothing, sitting on the sidelines, watching life go by without ever getting involved. That day when you don't even have the energy to shower, but you do it anyway. That day at work when everything goes wrong and you feel like you're going backwards when you thought you were making progress. That day when your mind tells you you're worthless, but you still get up and do something. Anything. Those are the days that define you. Seneca knew it. He said adversity reveals who you are when no one's watching. Anyone can be strong when everything's going well. Anyone can trust themselves when life is easy. But staying on your feet when everything is falling apart, moving forward even if you're crawling, that takes something deeper. That takes character, and character isn't built on comfortable days. It's forged in the ones that hurt, in the ones that make you doubt yourself, in the ones where you wonder if it's even worth it, because right there, when you choose to keep going anyway, that's when you become someone else. Angela Duckworth spent years studying what makes someone succeed, and she discovered something the Stoics already knew 2,000 years ago. The most talented person doesn't win. The one who keeps going, even when they don't want to, does. The one who chooses not to disappear on the bad days. The one who doesn't quit when quitting would be easier. Because resilience isn't about pushing through everything without feeling. It's not turning yourself to stone. It's moving forward with whatever you have. It's accepting that today you have less energy, less clarity, less strength, and doing something anyway, even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if no one sees it. When one of those heavy days comes, when you feel like you can't take one more thing, don't fight the day. Ask a different question. What version of me is being forged today? Because every time you choose to keep going when everything says stop, you're building something inside you that no one can take away. A strength that doesn't depend on your circumstances. A confidence that doesn't break when life gets hard. Marcus Aurelius wrote in the middle of war, illness, and loss. He didn't have perfect days. He had brutal days. And still he showed up. Not because he was some kind of superhero, but because he understood that his responsibility didn't disappear just because he didn't feel like showing up. His duty to himself was still there, even on the days when it was hardest to carry out. Pick a micro-duty for the day, and do it no matter what. It doesn't have to be big. It could be making your bed, walking for 5 minutes, writing 3 lines, anything. But it has to be something you said you'd do, because on the hard days, completing something small is a bigger victory than doing 10 things on a good day. And stop judging yourself for feeling bad. Feeling bad doesn't mean you're broken. Having a hard day doesn't mean you're going backwards. Being tired doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're human. It means you're doing things. It means you care. It means you're showing up in your life, not just watching it pass by. Epictetus said pain isn't a sign of weakness. It's part of the training. Because that's how you get stronger. Not by avoiding hard days, but by moving through them. Not by waiting for everything to feel easy before you act, but by acting even when it's hard. The bright days are beautiful, but they don't define you. Anyone can shine when the sun is out. You're defined by the dark ones, the ones where you stayed standing even when no one saw, the ones where you kept going, even though every part of you wanted to give up, the ones where you chose to stay true to yourself, even when it would have been easier not to. That's where real strength begins. That's where you build that more resilient version of yourself. Not in the perfect days you post online and the broken ones only you know about. In the moments no one sees, when you still choose to be who you said you'd be. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize something. The days you thought would destroy you were the ones that built you. The days you thought you wouldn't survive were the ones that taught you what you're made of. The days you thought you couldn't take anymore, but kept going anyway. Those are the days that gave you back your trust in yourself. You are not defined by your bright days. You are defined by the dark ones, by the ones where you stood tall, even when no one saw it. That's where your strength begins. Lesson 10. A little gratitude each day changes a lot. Chances are today you saw 10 good things, but they slipped right past you. A kind glance, a quiet breath, something that went right without you even planning it. Seneca once said that those who don't learn to see the good will end up living as if nothing is ever enough. And maybe that happened to you today. There was light, but your mind was too busy pointing out the shadows. But a true Stoic knows that the mind can be trained to see what holds you up, not just what's missing. They know that gratitude isn't a cheesy gesture. It's a way to come back to the present and regain control of yourself. Because here's the problem. Your brain is wired to detect threats. It's biology. It's not your fault. For thousands of years, that's what kept us alive. But now, you live in a world where real threats are rare, and your brain still works like everything is dangerous, like everything is a problem, like nothing is ever enough. And there you are, overlooking things you once prayed for. A hot cup of coffee, a conversation that made you smile, a moment of peace, someone checking in without you asking. They're so small your threat-focused mind ignores them completely, but your soul still needs them. Gratitude doesn't mean denying your problems. It doesn't mean pretending everything's perfect when it's not. It means training your eyes to also see what's working. Because if all you see is what's missing, you'll never feel like anything's enough. You'll never trust that you're capable of building something good. you'll always be stuck in lack. Seneca put it bluntly, those who don't appreciate what they have will never have enough. You can have more money, more success, more recognition, more everything. And if you don't learn to value what you already have, nothing will ever feel like it's enough. Because the problem isn't what you have, it's how you look at it. Gratitude works like a magnifying glass. It's not that you don't have good things, it's that you're not zooming in. When you train your gratitude, you're not faking happiness, you're amplifying what already exists, what's already there, but that your mind's been ignoring because it was focused on something else. Think about your day, that moment on the bus when you looked out the window and breathed a second of calm, that random laugh with a friend, that small gesture someone made that you forgot about 5 minutes later. All of that happened. All of it was real. But your mind skipped over it because it's busy chasing the next problem to solve. Sean Acor, a researcher at Harvard, found something the Stoics already knew without lab tests. The simple act of noticing 3 good things each day improves your mood in just a few weeks. Not because your life magically changes, but because your focus does. Because it trains your brain to look for good, not just bad. And that changes everything. When you start to notice what you do have, comparison loses its grip. When you see what's working, the problems don't disappear, but they stop taking up all the space. When you acknowledge what's good, you start to believe you're capable of creating more of it. You don't need a journal. You don't need a fancy ritual. When you brush your teeth tonight, just mentally list 3 good things from your day. That's it. A habit layered on top of another. 3 seconds that remind your brain. Not everything is a threat. Not everything is missing. Not everything is wrong. And here's the key. Give thanks for something small from a hard day, not just from a good one, because anyone can be grateful on a good day. When everything shines, gratitude is easy. But to find something to appreciate on a hard day, that's where the real training is. That's when your perspective starts to shift. Epictetus focused on valuing what's within your control. Your breath, your ability to choose your thoughts, your inner freedom. Even when everything outside is chaos, those things are always with you. You always have them. But you only recognize them when you train your attention to see them. Because gratitude isn't an emotion. It's focus. It's deciding intentionally where to place your attention. And every time you focus on something good, no matter how small, you're rewiring your mind to look for more of that. You're changing the filter you use to see your life. Marcus Aurelius used his meditations like a real gratitude journal. Not poetic, but practical. He wrote about people who helped him, lessons he'd learned, things that were working even when others weren't. Not to sound deep, but to remind himself that not everything was broken, that there were still things worth showing up for. And you need that too, my friend. You need to remember that not everything in your life is wrong, that you've accomplished things, that people do value you, that you've survived moments you thought would break you, that you're still here, trying, even if no one gives you a medal for it. Gratitude sharpens your vision. It brings back your ability to see what you do have. And when you can see what you have, it's easier to believe you can build what's missing because you're not starting from zero. You never are. There's always something to build from. There's always something working. There's always something good, even if it's small, and that something, that's enough. Enough to begin. Enough to keep going. Enough to remind you that you are more than what your mind tells you on the dark days, that your life has more light than you're currently seeing, that you deserve to recognize the good you've already created while you work on creating more. A little gratitude each day changes a lot. Not because it fixes all your problems, but because it reminds you that you are not just your problems. You're also all the good you've lived, all the strength you've built, and all the quiet victories that brought you this far. And that is enough to lift you up and trust yourself again. And if everything you just heard stirred something in you, don't stop here. Follow the thread. In the card, you'll find another video that fits exactly where you are in life right now. It might hold that one piece you're still missing. Click it and keep going with what you started today. Lesson 11. Let your actions match your words. Have you ever caught yourself saying, "I'll start tomorrow," knowing perfectly well that tomorrow you'll do the same as always? Have you promised to quit a habit, start a project, or change a routine, and when the moment came, you stayed still? We've all been there, stuck between what we say and what we actually do. And here's where the real question comes in. Did this happen to the Stoics too? Did they really live with that flawless coherence we imagine? Picture Epictetus in his small school in Nicopolis, looking at a student who had been repeating for weeks that he was going to work on his discipline, yet showed up every day with a new excuse. Epictetus didn't yell at him, didn't humiliate him. He just looked him in the eye and said something so simple it was impossible to dodge. "Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me." That was his standard. And that's the mirror you need to look into today. Because here's the problem. You've spent so much time talking about what you're going to do that your brain already feels rewarded without you having done anything. You plan, you promise, you imagine a better version of yourself. And that gives you a false sense of progress, as if thinking about change were the same as changing. But it's not. And you know it. That's why, every time you don't follow through, something inside you breaks a little. It's not guilt. It's not that you're a bad person. It's that real self-trust is built exactly there, when your actions line up with your words, and it's lost when they don't. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, not looking at your face but at your whole day reflected back to you. How much of what you said this morning actually happened this afternoon? The Stoics used their own mirror each night. They reviewed their actions as if they were fresh footprints in the sand, not to punish themselves, but to adjust, to see where their words and their actions had drifted apart. Marcus Aurelius might have sighed gently and told you something uncomfortable but necessary. What you do defines you more than what you say, because internal inconsistency isn't a lack of character, it's a lack of reflection. It's running on autopilot, saying things without a real commitment behind them, making yourself promises that never turn into motion. And meanwhile, your self-respect is bleeding out quietly. Epictetus put it plainly. You're not here to impress with your words, but to transform through action. You can talk beautifully about the person you want to become, but if you don't act on it, if you don't take concrete steps, all that talk is just smoke. It's fantasy. It's a promise your future self is stuck carrying. Think of all the times you said you'd read but never opened the book, the times you swore you wouldn't reach out to someone again and ended up doing it anyway, the times you promised to save money but spent it out of anxiety. It's all very human, very understandable, but it all carries a cost you don't notice right away. The cost is your confidence in yourself, because every time you say one thing and do another, you're sending yourself a clear message. My words don't mean much, I can't trust what I promise myself. And then you wonder why it's so hard to believe in yourself, why you freeze when you have to make real decisions. Seneca warned about something that may sound harsh, but it's true. Inner incoherence wears you down more than any external failure, because you can fail at something and get back up that even makes you stronger. But when you keep breaking promises to yourself, you weaken from the inside. You end up teaching yourself that you're not reliable, even to you. James Clear says something that sounds very stoic. Every action is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. If your actions don't vote for your words, your identity gets confused. You don't really know who you are, because your words are going in one direction, but your actions are going in another, and your brain doesn't know which one to believe. So what do? You start small, but real. Pick one small promise a day and keep it no matter what. Not 10 promises, just one. One so small that there's no excuse not to follow through. One so specific you can clearly mark it as done at the end of the day. Maybe it's getting up when the alarm goes off. Maybe it's making your bed, writing 3 lines, walking 10 minutes. Whatever it is, let it be something you can actually do today, not someday. Because every time you follow through on something small, you rebuild trust in your own word. You prove to yourself that when you say something, you mean it. And check in with yourself before bed, not to torture yourself over what didn't get done, but to notice where your words and actions were aligned and where they weren't. The Stoics did this every night. Marcus Aurelius would ask himself, did I act according to my principles today or just talk about them? Not to judge, just to adjust. Because that's what matters here. It's not about being perfect. It's about closing the gap between what you say and what you do. Every day that gap shrinks a little. Your confidence grows. Every day your actions support your words. You become more solid on the inside. And stop saying, I'm going to. Start saying, I'm doing, and move, even if it's a tiny step, even if it's imperfect. Because the gap between intention and action is the gap between dreaming your life and actually living it. Marcus Aurelius wasn't great because of how he spoke. He was great because his actions matched his values, even when that was harder than talking, even when it would have been easier to make exceptions, go with the flow, or leave it for later. His consistency was his power, and your consistency can be your power too. But you have to stop fooling yourself. You have to stop comforting yourself with plans you never act on. You have to start walking in the same direction your words point to. Not just say them with more conviction, because nice words don't change your life. Action does. And when what you say and what you do move in unison, confidence comes back on its own. You don't have to search for it or borrow it from someone else. You build it, day by day, action by action, promise kept by promise kept. That's the real way to start trusting yourself again, not by waiting to feel ready, by acting even when you don't, not by promising big changes, by keeping small commitments, not by talking about who you'll become by being that person today, even in the smallest way. And one day, a few weeks or months from now, when you look back, you'll see something different. You'll see someone whose words mean something, someone who follows through, someone you can trust, starting with yourself. Lesson 12. Get back up even when it's hard. No one says it, but even Marcus Aurelius had days when he felt like he couldn't go on. We know this because he wrote about it. He didn't hide his exhaustion, his doubt, or his fear. He left behind a record of moments when everything felt too heavy, when the weight of the entire empire on his shoulders felt impossible to carry. But he also made it clear that every day he started again, even if his soul had to drag itself forward. And that's where you are right now, in that place where getting up feels like too much, where trying again feels like a cruel joke, where the idea of trusting yourself again sounds like a fantasy because you've already tried. You've already failed. You're tired of making promises to yourself that don't last, and now you're not even sure if it's worth getting back up. But listen to me. Getting up doesn't always look epic. It's not a movie scene where everything changes in a second. Sometimes it's just taking a shower when you don't want to, sending that email you've been avoiding, going for a 10-minute walk even when your mind tells you to stay inside. It's small, it's imperfect, it's clumsy, but it's movement. A few months ago, someone told me they hadn't been able to wake up early in weeks because they had completely lost confidence in themselves. One day, they decided to stand up, not because they were motivated, but because they were tired of lying there staring at the ceiling. And that small gesture, putting their feet on the ground, was the beginning of a string of better days. Small, imperfect, full of doubts, but better, because getting up doesn't erase the pain. It doesn't fix everything in one shot. It doesn't instantly turn you into someone new, but it gives you direction. It reminds you that you still have agency over your life, that even when everything feels hard, you can still choose one next step. No matter how small, Epictetus literally and figuratively got back up after being beaten by his master until he was left lame. He could have given up 1,000 times. He could have let that experience define him forever. Instead, he became one of the most important philosophers in history, not because he didn't have reasons to stay down, but because he chose to get up anyway. And you have that same red button inside you. We all do. Like the emergency override in a plane when everything else fails. It's your internal emergency switch. It's not meant for easy days. It's for when everything crashes. The Stoics used it without drama, without any grand ritual. They just said, "I begin again." That simple. And they started moving again. Think of those moments when you're sad but you go for a walk anyway. When you want to disappear, but you answer that important message when you feel like you failed but try again the next day. Those moments aren't small. They're everything. Because that's when you're choosing not to abandon yourself. Seneca constantly reminded us that difficulty is part of the path, not a detour. It's not that something has gone wrong in your life and that's why things are hard. It's that living for real, trying for real, building something real is hard. And that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, it means you're doing something real. Bethany Hamilton went back to surfing after losing an arm in a shark attack, not because she wasn't afraid, not because it was easy, not because someone promised everything would work out. She went back because she chose to get up, even though the fear was still there, even though the difficulty was still there, even though the doubts were still there. That's deeply Stoic. So today, right now, in this moment when everything feels heavy, choose one non-negotiable step. Just one. Don't plan your whole new life. Don't make yourself massive promises. Just identify one step you can take today, and take it. Even if you're crawling, even if you're scared, even if you're not sure it'll work. Talk to yourself like a kind coach, not like a relentless judge. Don't say, "You should be able to handle this." Say, "Just today, one step." Don't demand perfection, demand presence. Don't expect immediate results. Expect minimal movement in the right direction. Because getting up today doesn't guarantee that tomorrow will be perfect. It doesn't mean everything will be fixed. It doesn't mean you won't fall again. But it does guarantee something fundamental, that you're not abandoning yourself. That even when things are hard, you're still showing up for yourself. That even if no one sees it, you're still choosing you. And every time you do that, every time you choose to get back up even when it's hard, something inside you shifts. You begin to trust again, not in the idea that everything will be okay, in the truth that you'll be able to handle it even if it's not, that you have the ability to rise one more time, that you're not as broken as you thought. Marcus Aurelius started over every day with a tired soul. Epictetus got back up after being broken. Seneca found strength in the middle of exile. None of them had guarantees. None of them knew if it would be worth it. But they chose to get up anyway, and that choice defined them more than any external circumstance ever could. Get back up, even if it's slow. Get back up, even if you don't have clarity. Get back up, even if your heart feels heavy. Get back up, even if it's just to take one step and fall again. Because every time you choose to rise, you're building that firmer, more resilient version of yourself. You're showing yourself that you still can, that you still matter, that there's still something in you worth fighting for. And that, my friend, is exactly what the Stoics called victory, not winning every time. Not succeeding at everything, just getting back up one more time. Just not giving up even when it would be easier to. Just choosing to keep going, even if no one's watching, even if no one claps, even if no one understands. Every time you rise, you begin to trust yourself again, and that is all you need to start over. The Stoics weren't seeking perfection. They were seeking coherence. They didn't expect days without failure. They expected to have the strength to rise after each fall. And that's exactly what you've been building here. Not a version of yourself that never fails, but one that knows how to come back. Every lesson we've gone through is a brick, but the structure only stands if you decide to raise it. You can have all the clarity in the world, but without movement, without decision, without that moment when you draw the line and say, "This ends now," nothing changes, and you already know what you need to do. Not tomorrow, today, now, with what you have, from where you are. If you've made it this far, write in the comments, "Today I choose myself again." That tells me you're part of this community that doesn't give up. Subscribe and turn on the bell so we can walk this path of wisdom together. You've got more videos on screen waiting for you, because every step counts. Click now and let's keep learning together.